Yeah, with a couple of half hitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that goes over, you'll always see as soon as you can break it back on any knot. Funky up top, right? And good time of lifting everything up. We'll tie this off again. 2 half hitches will hold this right here. Tie this up now. You're gonna have to untie that and tie those together. Yep. So does that qualify everything? I think we're there. Excellent. Good.
What's
that?
that?
Sound signaling device.
Air horn in the back corner here, and second one in the yellow bag. Right.
It's all about getting boat balance.
Yeah.
And boat balance should be, when you let go of the wheel, in theory, you should be at no more than 25 degrees in a MacGregor, sailing straight like that, let go of the wheel. If you start to turn into the wind, it means you have too much force or too much effort behind the mainsail. So all you need to do is let the mainsail out a bit, reduce the force, and that'll come back on. Or tighten the headsail to put more force on that. Okay? Conversely, if you're sailing same 25 degrees knots, so you're totally in balance as far as how much sail you have up to the wind, but now the wind is blowing from here, now you start sailing away, and the boat starts going downwind. That's very dangerous because now we've got a boom that can come across. We've got an active boom, but that means we've got too much effort in the front, and the wind is actually pushing you away like this, right? So either way, if the wind is pushing behind, now you're going away from the wind is pushing behind the mast, it's turning it into the wind. So if it goes away, what do we need to do?
Reduce it more.
Yeah, you could furl the jib a bit more.
Or increase power to the main.
Or increase power to the main to get the boat back in balance. And how do you know what to do first? In general, when you're trimming a rig, you trim from the bow to the stern first. So you look, when you look at your jib, if your telltales, your inside telltales are both doing like this, then you know that you're totally fine in balance as far as the sail is trimmed properly. If you look up your mainsail and any of your telltales on the end aren't fluttering straight back, then you know that sail's not trimmed properly. And the reason they flutter straight back is the air hits the mast, and the molecules in the air actually hit the mast, and then they separate. One goes on one side of the sail, and one goes on the other side of the sail, and follows the boom. So the air hits here, hits the mast, and it follows the boom. The other one goes on the outside of the sail, and the sail is curved like this, just like an airplane wing.
Right.
So it's like an airplane wing, and at the end, the same molecules meet up again. The one on the outside has to go farther distance at the same speed,
which creates a low pressure.
Which creates low pressure, which creates lifts and sucks that in. The same way an airplane is on here, that's what creates lift on an airplane. So it's the same theory. So you know at the end, if your telltales on the end of the roach, which is the outside of the back of your leech of the sail, if they're totally going straight back, that means the molecules are catching themselves at the back perfectly, and you've got it trimmed properly. If one is going this way, that means this one is hitting the end of the sail sooner than the other one. So you know which way to turn to get the other side of the molecule. That's why you let it in or let it out. You'll see it go this way, then you'll see it go behind. You keep letting it out, it'll go the other way, right? All that is the molecules aren't catching themselves at the back. If it gets jammed in, let's say it gets jammed in there, now you don't have enough room here, enough length on here to be able to pull it out. So leave yourself a good foot. There's some pressure, huh? Okay? That's okay, you can see it. It's coming down straight to the winch instead of going back here. Somehow when it got away on us, that's okay. But it was good because when you grabbed it, you first grabbed it like this with your thumbs toward it, and then you turned your hand around like that. So, So, we're not really in heavy wind, but again, you never want to grab this one-to-one like this because that's a lot of pressure. You never want to grab it straight too. Like on a 50-foot boat, the guy grabs the sheet like this, pulls it right across the deck, right up against the lifeline. I'm going to take it right overboard the lifeline. So I always want 1-2. So I can pull on this. Now I've got twice as much pressure on this just because of that one turn. So we're going to take this off as we can. Pull this in. Bring it. going more to the center of the boat. So you want all the sails going down and in the center of the boat. That's why you want to use the jib track bars here. See what happens, they're starting to luff a bit. You see that telltale at the top? We've got some really nice sail shape here. You can see the draft. The difference between the clew, everything sticking out on this side is the draft. And where that draft is positioned should be about 45% at the bottom. Or just say 0.5% to make it easy. So you can see right here, this draft is just like this, the same as that one. And you can see nothing's really leaking or going out there. Because we're in high wind, we would prefer to have less draft because we don't want to catch air. We're going to try and spill air to keep it standing up so we don't have to reef. We talked at the beginning that before we reef, we want to be able to spill wind or depower the rig. We can depower the rig by pulling more on the bottom and spilling wind off the top. That reduces the percentage of draft or how deep that sail is cut by pulling that back and pulling harder on the bottom. So as we go back, the crucial distance is where the man goes overboard, person goes overboard, leaving enough room to be able to turn around and do this figure 8. If you don't leave enough room, you jam yourself in here and you can't do it, you have to come back again. When people go overboard, it's called the miracle minute, which means if you survive the first minute, chances are now you can survive for the next hour. And the reason you survive for the first, if you don't survive for the first minute, is because you have what's called the gasp reflex. Same thing as if you have water, go in a cold shower, you go
Cold
like
water
that.
shock.
As soon as you go in cold water, you go the gasp reflex. Some people drown right away within that. A lot of people can regurgitate it back up. And so the trick to know whether they're going to survive the first minute is if they start screaming and yelling, that's a good sign. You know from there on in, as long as their life jacket is and they're screaming and yelling, you've got an hour to get back and get them. They're going to be miserable and cold as hell. Temperature here is about plus 8 degrees in the water. You can survive in there for an hour before hypothermia will step in, but within a half hour, your hands and dexterity is you're going to start to get lost. So you've got a lot of time to get in there, as long as they're screaming. If they're not screaming, that's a whole different thing. You need to get back there as soon as you can, and ends up not being as safe. But the safety on this one, and again, we'll be going this direction. The wind is coming from here. Leave this distance as long as you can. Then we'll go into basically a close reach. We'll come about and tack. Again, we're tacking into the wind. We'll come down and cross the boat. You'll be able to see the wake. Cross across your wake about halfway between where you start first making your tack and where the crew overboard is. And here now is the most crucial time, is trying to figure out how to come up to here so that you just stop here. And we're not using the motor. All we're doing is just how fast is your boat going to stop. We'll release the sails. This is the great thing about sailing on this. A MacGregor will normally stop in about 3 boat lengths, or about 75 feet. So as soon as you let go of the sails, if you're going hull speed, it'll only cruise for about 75 feet because we're going into the wind. As soon as when they say the calm before the storm, you mentioned that earlier, Alex. That's exactly what that is. That's when the low pressure and the high pressure systems move through. There's a calm before that storm. The storm is the low pressure system. The calm is the high pressure system before the low one comes. And you know it's coming long before it is, because most low pressure systems will have a warm front that precedes it. A warm front starts with, are we okay?
We're good for another couple minutes.
A warm front that comes on is usually the preceding of a low pressure system, and it starts with high clouds like we have right now. These are stratus clouds, or flat stratus clouds, as opposed to cumulus cotton ball ones. This is very stable air mass, so in general we're not going to get a lot of rain and a lot of wind. It's going to be very consistent, miserable drizzle, maybe a few wind gusts. When you get big puffy clouds, that's when you get more, because it's unstable air, you get much more violent conditions. But first of all, you'll start to see a bunch of telltale signs. You'll see a plane, jet go by. You'll see a contrail. That's the first sign that the air is starting to become unstable and starting to become saturated, right? And then you'll start to see a sundog or a moondog. If you see a ring around the sun, around the moon, it gives you about 24 hours before low pressure sets in, if it's going to set in at all. There's a bunch, it's not, you can't look up and say this is this or this is that. It's a series of things that happen in an event, but generally you'll start to see cirrus or high clouds. We call them mare's tails, where you see a bunch of things like that. Those are mare's tails. Those are cirrus clouds. They're actually freezing rain high up. Then after that, you'll start to see it fill in a little bit. It'll get hazy. That means you definitely got a weather front coming.